9 Lost Minutes. From the Literary Digest, March 25, 1911. This is recorded to celebrate the 9th anniversary of LibriVox. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. 9 Lost Minutes. At midnight on March 11th, 9 French minutes went for nothing. And then, for the first time, it became possible to adopt a uniform time system throughout Europe, Russia only excluded. The only obstacle to a systematic zone system of time, such as that long in use in the United States, has been the persistent adherence of the French to their own national meridian, that of Paris, after other European nations had adopted that of Greenwich, England. The Greenwich time standard is the basis of our present system, so that uniform time belts now exist over the United States and Europe, each differing by exactly 1 hour from the next one. The new time standard was legally adopted in France on February 13th by the ratification of the Senate of the bill to that effect already passed by the Chamber. It went into effect on March 11th, on which day at midnight all French clocks were stopped for 9 minutes and 20 seconds. Says Camille Flammarion in a letter to the New York Herald from Juvisy Observatory, Paris, "This decision, which comes as the denouement of a discussion which lasted more than a quarter of a century, is an event of the highest importance. It causes rejoicing among astronomers, who up to the present have been forced to reduce their observations to Greenwich time, and inversely those in Greenwich time to Paris time, an annoying complication, all the more useless because it would seem logical for the science of the universe to be based on one universal time." While for several thousand years each country reckoned time in its own way, the discovery and application of means of rapid communication modified manners and customs, and by bringing the various peoples into closer relation with each other, made it necessary to reduce the encumbering multiplicity of measures of time. The problem is complex, since, as a matter of fact, there are in nature just as many different times as there are localities situated longitudinally around the world. At no matter what moment, each hour of the day or night exists at one point or another of the terrestrial sphere. It is not generally noticed what a slight distance only is needed to bring about a notable difference in time. For example, the inhabitants of Vincennes have not exactly the same time as those of Auteuil. The difference amounts to more than half a minute, the midday sun taking 37 seconds to cross the French capital from east to west. If we wished our watches to mark the exact time always, we would have to set the hands backward and forward as we went from the Arc de Triomphe to the Tuileries, or from the Opera to the Madeleine, or in other words, according as the direction of our walk was from west to east or inversely. The simplest way is evidently to correct too movable nature and substitute a conventional measure of time based on an invariable unit. With a view to solving this delicate problem, an international congress met at Washington in 1884, and it was decided to divide the 360 degrees of the Earth's circumference longitudinally into 24 time belts of 15 degrees, each marking 1 hour. As a point of departure for this system, the meridian of Greenwich was taken because it is the one generally used in astronomical calculations. By this method, the time at every point in each belt is that of the meridian which passes through its center. In each belt, every watch and clock should be exactly 1 hour faster than those of the neighboring belt on the west, and 1 hour slower than those of its eastern neighbor. Europe is divided into 3 such belts. That of Greenwich, which includes England, France, Spain, Morocco, Belgium, and Holland, corresponds to the time of Western Europe. Central European time, 60 minutes in advance of that of Greenwich, is that of Sweden, Norway, Germany, Austria, and Italy. Eastern European time, 2 hours in advance of Greenwich time, is used in Romania, Turkey, etc. In the United States, Eastern Standard Time is 5 hours behind Greenwich time. It is the time reckoned in New York. Central Standard Time is 6 hours behind Greenwich. Mountain Standard Time and Pacific Standard Time are respectively 7 and 8 hours behind. France, however, did not subscribe to the Washington International Convention. She adhered faithfully to the meridian of Paris, historically sacred. The above chart shows how time is reckoned at present in the various countries. The new organization will modify it, for while the attempts made in the last quarter of a century to conquer the resistance of the government have been vain up to the present, the change has now been decided on by law. The Entente Cordiale has had perhaps something to do with this happy result, which certainly is a sign of progress in all international relations. End of 9 Lost Minutes. Read by Maria Casper.